continuing on with my summer where I'm trying to use a lot of the tools and products in my stash. One of the things I knew I wanted to use is Crepe Paper's the Pier paper pad. When I first got this in last spring, I did a layout with it, and then I've been a little bit stingy with it since. Especially haven't wanted to use up some of my favorite papers. I was saving them for a particular layout, and I've been saving it long enough. It's time to use it, and I think I have a really good choice. Anyway, this is a photo, obviously, of food, but of a restaurant that we go to a lot of times when we go to Hilton Head called the Sea Shack. And the name makes me think of the Love Shack song, so we're going to use that as part of the theme for this. I'm not quite sure, though, what I want to do with the papers. I haven't done a sketch. I just know I want to do something very casual. This is one of those like hole-in-the-wall kind of places where everything is, nothing's fancy at all. And so I just want to make this kind of casual. I also want to use the page, though, to capture quite a bit of journaling about the places that we ate out on our trip this year. We go every year, and there are a lot of restaurants. And some we like better than others, but you tend to forget sometimes from year to year exactly what your experiences were. So I made some notes that I want to use as journaling, and it won't stay on this paper, but I didn't know how much room or where I was going to put it. So I went ahead and printed it out so I'd have some idea of how much space I would need on the page. I found that our albums are not just memory keepers, they're sort of like almanacs. You can go back and look up stuff that you might need to refer to, so I think that will be a good use for this page as well. I do think I'm going to start, though, with some misting. I've got just some plain ivory cardstock from Michaels. And I chose that because it matched the pattern papers that I've picked out, and I picked a few mists that match those as well. So I'm going to do a little spraying and a little drops of mist to create just sort of an all-over kind of background, and then see where we want to go from there. I'm just going to start with spraying some Maya Road buttermilk mist on the background. This is just a real pale yellow. I guess it's supposed to be cream. It kind of comes out a little bit yellow. And I got some on my fingers, so I just went ahead and flecked that onto the paper. And then I have some pink here. This is Mary Mary from Studio Calico. Add a few droplets to the paper. I also have a red, I think it's Rudolph, it's also from Studio Calico. And I'm going to finish up with some blue. Oh no, there's the red. I'm also going to finish up with a blue color called Honor Society from Studio Calico. I know it's a discontinued color and I love it. And when I run out of it, I'm going to be in trouble. I'll have to find a good substitute for it because I use it all the time. And I sort of went the other direction with that. Now a lot of this is going to get covered up. So there's not going to be a huge amount of this showing, but they'll still be peeking through around the edges, I think. And it's a good match to the papers that I have. Okay, so you can kind of see it's gotten dry now. And I'm going to split those photos. I think what I'd like to do with this is kind of put my title in the middle across the gap between the two photos. And I know I want to use that really pretty colorful paper there. And then there's one that talks about the pier, and it has pictures of beachy kind of things. And I've got a little bit of it peeking out, and some of this gold in the opposite corner. Just kind of figuring out my layers and what I want to go where. I have just a little bit of this one other colorful paper left. So I want to get a lot out of it too and put it somewhere where I'm pretty sure I'm not going to cover it up. Now Sea Shack, the picture there on the top is a picture of the wall in the restaurant. And as I mentioned, I'm going to use kind of the love theme here. So I've got that love word. I'm going to do some hearts and stuff, I think. I'll have to put something behind it, though, to make it show up, because it's just not going to show up. That vellum isn't on the pattern papers. White might work the best. But the word Sea Shack is kind of outlined, and I'm going to use that concept with the title. I do have a lot of journaling, too. I have to figure out where to put it. There are quite a few hearts that are with this vellum. This is Maggie Holmes for crepe paper. It's a different collection, but I think it goes really well here. So I've got a lot of hearts there I can work with, and I'm fishing around to see if there are any other elements that I think I would like. The little packet that these are in is an 8.5 by 11 page protector, and I did a separate video on this. I'll try to remember to link that here on how I created these, because it was a way to store my die cuts, because I just wasn't using the die cuts. I couldn't find them in packages. There's mason jars. Those might work in too at some point. So I'm going to split that photograph and then work the title in between it. I'm going to do my title on the silhouette, and I'd like to share with you some screens here to show you how I did this. There may be more than one way, but the way I approached it was to type out my text in the font that I wanted it to be in. And I want to get an outline of this. So the first thing I'm going to do is set the character spacing. This is on the text style box that appears when you first type things in. Down towards the bottom there's a character spacing. It's normally at 100. I moved it way out so it would spread the letters out. And then I went to the offset screen, and I used the default offset. I think it's 0.125, and that creates a line around each letter. And when you cut them out, if you just leave the offset there, it cuts both the inside and the outside out. Because normally when you use the offset, you separate these and cut them in different colors. I just cut everything together out of one color of cardstock, so that left me with an outline, and I can use the outline and some of the inside of the letters. And as I say, there may be more than one way to do this, but this was the approach that I took to get the letters on the So now I'm just looking at the papers and seeing if I want to do some distressing to the edges, because I decided to leave C-Shack without any background to it, just have it lay over these papers so you'll see as much of the photos as possible, and that black, I think they really show up. I'm going to tear the edges of some things. I'm going to use some distress ink on some things. I want this to look kind of rustic because, as I say, this restaurant is nothing fancy. I also thought I'd add a little paint to some of them, and because I had this on my table from another project, and it's a really good color match. Just a light gold paint, and I'm just going to brush that around the edges. This happens to be a paint that's semi-transparent, so you still see some of the backing to it, but it's such a light color. I think even if you used a craft paint, you wouldn't cover up very much, especially going on just the ends. I bought this particular paint at Hobby Lobby. It's called Academy Acrylic. It's one of my favorite paints. Now this one, I think I decided to do some distress ink and vintage photo. Okay, now I have the background papers glued down, and I'm just gluing the letters on with some Tombow adhesive in a few places, and they'll hold really well. And then I'll put the middles and the A's and the E's and so forth as we go along here. Yeah, there's the A going in. And the love up there, I have put a white background behind that. That's what actually tended to show up the best. I rounded the corners so it kind of matched the outline part of the vellum, and then I'm just going to staple it in place. Right, I need a few more stickers because I want it to say, "We love the C-Shack." So I went through stickers and stickers, and I finally ended up with these black ones from Doodlebug that showed up the best. The word "the" though is going to be too big. I'm going to have to come up with something else for "the." I've got more stickers, so it's not going to be on these. Some of these sets didn't have any E's in them once I got them out there. Now I have a couple of mason jars, and I was looking at using two. Two of these are just too dominant, so I think one of them will be sufficient. And I've got a pretty little heart there with a camera in it, and I've got lots of other hearts to continue the love theme. I'm cheating a little bit. We like the C-Shack. I don't know that we love the C-Shack, but it just sort of goes with that song, and it keeps running through my head. I kept trying to add some embellishment over there around that title, and it didn't work. It ended up being better just in two places on the layout this time. And I want to add some paper down at the bottom, and I'm looking at the chevron And I also have the stripe, and the stripe is the one that won out. And then the journaling, I redid it instead of being a long piece, and I'm doing it in 2 paragraphs, and I'm going to print it on some ivory vellum from Hobby Lobby, Paper Studio brand. And I just always buy this when they have it on sale and keep it, because I like to put journaling on vellum, especially if I have a pretty paper, so that it will show up. And I'm tucking a little glue in behind the photos, and I'm sorry my head is in the way there. I normally cut this part out, and I didn't. But what I'm doing is just sliding the vellum underneath the title and the photos so that it's getting glued down there. You can also put just a little bit of adhesive underneath some of the words, and you'll never see it. It'll hold just fine that way. In fact, I'm going to have to do that with the mason jar. I'm going to have to put a little bit of glue right underneath some of the main areas. And maybe a little washi tape in places. So I've got a couple out there, a black one, a stripe I think, and then this blue color. No, it wasn't a stripe, it was a wood grain. And the wood grain really went with this whole thing. I never got to work the wood grain paper in, so I got to use the washi tape instead. And I know I want to add some more staples somewhere too, so we'll kind of get to that. I have some wood embellishments that I think go with the whole casual look, and I have these from Prima. So I work around with some of these for a while, and I don't think any of those ended up working out. But I do have some new flair, and I picked this up at Michael's the other day on sale. And one of them was called Simple Things, and I like that because, you know, the meal here was simpler, and then of course there are plenty of fancy restaurants on the island too. But I got a piece of flair. Now that flair is white and teal, and I need something up in the upper right hand corner to balance that. And that's where I tried to work some of those Prima stuff in, and it still didn't work. So I'm going to head off to my sticker drawer and see if I can find some more older product that might balance things out. I got a couple of stickers here. One that says good stuff from October afternoon, and then I have one that I think will be a good balance for that flair, because it has that almost the same kind of look, except it just doesn't say Simple Things, and the same colors and all. So just move a few things around and get that worked in. And I can put the date on that too. I have a little bit of room. And I've just got to glue that hard on and add a couple of staples and to wrap up my layout. Okay, so this is one that didn't start with a sketch, but it just started kind of laying things out and playing, and I really like the effect. I love the title, and I know I'm going to do this again. As I say, there may be another way to do outlines that's easier in the Silhouette software. I'll have to look into that, but this offset thing worked really well too. So anyway, I'm still learning things on the Silhouette. I got lots of embellishments in here and some distressing. Got to play with a lot of different products in this page. So it was a fun page to do, and it got a lot of journaling in about our restaurant experiences, so next year I can read through that and say, okay, which places we want to go and which places maybe we don't want to repeat. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll check out my blog for other products, and be sure and sign up for my monthly newsletter.